I will start from the first topic after introduction, that is important topic, glomerulonephritis. As the name suggests, glomerulonephritis is inflammation of the glomeruli. In the glomerulonephritis, as the name suggests, it is inflammation of the glomerulus. That is glomerulonephritis. Inflammation of the glomeruli, mainly immunologically mediated, and the classification of glomerulonephritis is based on histopathological appearance. Early investigation other than histological examination is very difficult. Early investigation, I mean to say, like routine examination of urine, blood urea, serum creatinine, blood urea nitrogen, etc., GFR estimations, and plain X-ray, etc. These are very difficult to categorize glomerulonephritis, diagnose glomerulonephritis except histological examination. Then the etiology, the glomerulonephritis, as the name suggests, inflammation, and it has infectious mechanism of the disease. That is, etiology is infectious disease. It is post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. That is, as the name suggests, it occurs after streptococcal infections. That is, after 14 days or 21 days following a streptococcal sore throat or disease or a streptococcal dermatitis, etc. So it is a post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Etiological agent is a streptococci, beta hemolytic streptococci, nephritogenic strain. I will discuss later on. So post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Second is that it occurs due to infective endocarditis also. Glomerulonephritis occurs after infective endocarditis. It occurs after syphilitic infection. It occurs after viral infections like mumps, measles, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, infectious mononucleosis, and Epstein-Barr virus infections. It occurs following malaria also. Parasitic protozoal disease, malaria. Then it occurs, it was infectious disease previously, etiology, and these are the collagen vascular disease having immunological origin like your systemic lupus erythematosus, Goodpasture syndrome, then Henoch-Schönlein purpura, polyangiitis, Wegener's granulomatosis, and sickle cell nephropathy. It occurs in sickle cell disease also. So these are the collagen vascular diseases of the etiology of the glomerulonephritis. Then miscellaneous causes of glomerulonephritis are due to malignancy, due to eclampsia. Eclampsia is a toxic condition characterized by convulsion and possibly coma with edema during or immediately after pregnancy, and drug induced, especially penicillamine. Then mechanism of glomerular injury, as I have told you, two mechanisms of glomerular injury, immunologic mechanism and non-immunologic mechanism. Amongst the immunologic mechanism are anti-glomerular basement membrane, that is antibody mediated disease and cell mediated disease, and secondary pathogenesis, pathogenetic mechanism. Antibody mediated disease, cell mediated amongst the immunological, antibody mediated, cell mediated, and secondary pathogenetic mechanism. Amongst the antibody mediated immunologic origin are immune complex disease. The immune complex disease, glomerulonephritis, like acute diffuse glomerulonephritis, penicillamine, glomerulonephritis, membranous glomerulonephritis, membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, IgA nephropathy, and secondary glomerular disease like in SLE nephritis. So these are the immune mediated via the immune complex disease. Then anti-glomerular basement membrane disease. This occurs in Goodpasture syndrome. Anti-glomerular basement membrane disease, this occurs in Goodpasture syndrome. Third is alternate pathway disease. This occurs in membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, especially type 1. Membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis are basically three types: type 1, type 2, type 3. Similarly, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, RPGN, is also of three types: type 1, type 2, type 3. That I mean to say that alternate pathway disease is involved in membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis type 1. Then other mechanisms like anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibodies and anti-endothelial cell antibody. Anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibody and anti-endothelial cell antibodies, this occurs typically in case of vasculitis, immunologic mechanism, vasculitis. Then second is other pathogenic mechanisms like your this antibody mediated cytoplasmic neutrophilic or endothelial cell antibody. Then cell mediated involvement occurs in your type 1 rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, that is RPGN. It is also called pauci-immune glomerulonephritis. I have told you membranoproliferative is three types: type 1, type 2, type 3. Similarly, RPGN, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, are of three types: type 1, type 2, type 3. So the cell-mediated glomerular injury is involved in pauci-immune glomerulonephritis, especially type 1, type 3, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, RPGN. Then secondary pathogenic mechanism. The secondary pathogenic mechanism is your mediate glomerular injury in various primary and secondary glomerular diseases. Then non-immunologic mechanism. This non-immunologic mechanism occurs in metabolic diseases like non-meta-immunologic injuries like metabolic diseases like diabetic nephropathy, then Fabry's disease, then hemodynamic disease, hypertensive nephrosclerosis, then your focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, then your deposition occurs in amyloid nephropathy, infectious etiology occurs in HIV nephropathy, immune complex disease in subacute bacterial endocarditis, then drug induced like non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAID induced associated minimal change disease, then inherited Alport syndrome, Neil Patella syndrome. So these are the various mechanisms of glomerular injury like immunologic injury, non-immunologic. Amongst the immunologic, antibody mediated, cell mediated. Antibody mediated, immune complex, anti-glomerular basement membrane and alternate pathway disease and other antibodies. And cell mediated, then secondary pathogenic mechanism. Amongst the non-infectious etiology, metabolic, hemodynamic, then your deposition, infection, drugs and inherited. This important acute proliferative glomerulonephritis. Primary glomerulonephritis, as I have told you, are of the 6 types. Acute proliferative glomerulonephritis, acute proliferative glomerulonephritis. It may be acute post-streptococcal or may be non-streptococcal. So, acute proliferative glomerulonephritis. Second is rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Third is minimal change disease. Then membranous glomerulonephritis. Then your membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis. Then focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, IgA nephropathy and chronic glomerulonephritis. And some are secondary like SLE nephritis, diabetic nephritis, nephropathy, then your amyloid nephropathy and so on, etc. Collagen vascular diseases, venous granulomatosis nephritis, Henoch-Koenen purpura nephritis, sickle cell nephritis, so various other nephritis, secondary causes. Primary causes are only acute proliferative glomerulonephritis, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, then your minimal change disease, then your membranous glomerulonephritis, then your membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, then your IgA nephropathy, then your chronic glomerulonephritis. These are primary. The kidney is involved primarily, and in the secondary variety, the kidney glomerulonephritis occurs secondary to some other diseases like SLE, diabetes, amyloidosis, etc. So this acute proliferative glomerulonephritis are further acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Acute proliferative glomerulonephritis Acute proliferative post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. Acute glomerulonephritis is a disease characterized by sudden appearance of the edema, hematuria, proteinuria, and hypertension. That is features of nephritic syndrome. That is acute glomerulonephritis characterized by sudden appearance of edema, hematuria, proteinuria, and hypertension. It is representative of acute nephritic syndrome, in which inflammation of the glomeruli is manifested by proliferation of the cellular elements secondary to an immunologic mechanism, characterized by diffuse proliferation of the glomerular cells associated with influx of the leukocytes. Incidence. Acute post-streptococcal proliferative glomerulonephritis occurs in males. Males are more affected than females. It occurs in preschool and early childhood children with a peak onset between 6 to 7 years, rare in children under 2 years of age. On the average responsible for 2 to 4% of pediatric admission in India and accounts for 90% of the renal diseases in the childhood. Varies with the prevalence of the nephritogenic strain of the streptococci and likelihood cross-reaction infection. Acute glomerulonephritis post-infectious onset is sudden. Acute, as it is here it is acute, so onset is sudden nephritic syndrome. Diffuse hypercellularity of the glomeruli. Lesions are typically caused by immune complex. The inciting agents are exogenous or endogenous. The exogenous are post-infectious glomerulonephritis or endogenous SLE, systemic lupus erythematosus, most often etiology. This exogenous, especially post-streptococcal. And amongst these post-streptococcal, group A, beta hemolytic streptococci is involved, especially nephritogenic strain. In 90% of the cases, nephritogenic strain, beta hemolytic group A streptococci type 1, type 12, type 4, type 1, also are 49, 2, 18, 25, 55, 57, 60. All typing of M and T proteins of the cell wall. So these are the nephritogenic strain which occurs after infection of this nephritogenic strain, that is type 12, 4, 1, 49, 2, 18, 25, 55, 57 and 60. Then it occurs following a Staphylococcus pyogenic infection. Others variety less frequently are Staphylococcus, spirochetes, viruses. Most often affect children. Most common, it is the most common children disease occurring after 2 years of age and between 10 years of age. Post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. The post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis follows pharyngeal or cutaneous attack. It follows pharyngeal or cutaneous attack of group A beta hemolytic streptococcal. Latent period of infection in pharyngeal case 6 to 10 days. In cutaneous case like scabies, it occurs 2 weeks. Commonly associated with the poor hygiene, overcrowding and skin diseases like scabies. These are streptococcal infection of the streptococcal sore throat, then skin impetigo, exogenous cause, impetigo, streptococcal, beta hemolytic group A streptococcal, impetigo infection, skin infection, and this is sore throat infection. This is following endogenous like lupus erythematosus, SLE, lupus, affecting the butterfly lesion, is especially butterfly lesion around the nose in butterfly like area. So this is the lesion of the lupus erythematosus. It causes glomerulonephritis. Pathogenesis. 2 chief pathogeneses are involved. Deposition of antigen-antibody complex in the glomeruli and deposition of antibody in the glomerular basement membrane, which then reacts with the antigen in the basement membrane. So antigen-antibody reaction in the glomeruli and deposition of antibody in the glomerular basement membrane, which reacts with the antigen in the glomeruli basement membrane. As I have told, it is an immune complex disease. The immune complexes are removed through the host by reticuloendothelial system. Impaired ability of the same, that is removal of the immune complex by reticuloendothelial system results in deposition of glomerular capillary wall. Immune complex and antibody against glomerular antigen trigger injury by following mechanism: complement activation, fibrin deposition, platelet aggregation, and release of cytokines and free oxygen radicals. Since the immune complex and antibody against glomerular basement membrane antigen causes following mechanisms trigger injury by following mechanism: complement activation, fibrin deposition, platelet aggregation, and release of cytokines and free oxygen radicals. Then light microscopy. The clinical features are nephritic syndrome, that is edema is there, hypoproteinemia is there, and proteinuria is there, but minimum proteinuria, and there is hypertension, hypercoagulability of the blood in the nephritic syndrome. The light microscopy shows diffuse proliferative glomerulonephritis. In the glomerulonephritis, I have told the lesion may be diffuse or focal. That is, all the glomeruli of the kidney are involved, or focal, some of the glomeruli of the kidney are involved. Then second is global and segmented. That is, in one glomerulus, whole glomeruli are involved, global involvement. Segmental, a part of the glomerulus is involved. Of the single glomerulus, a part is involved. It is called segmental. So this terminology must be kept in mind before knowing glomerulonephritis. That is, the diffuse lesion, all glomeruli focal, some of the glomeruli, this global, whole single glomerulus, the segmental, a segment of the glomerulus is involved. So in the light microscope, this is a diffuse proliferative glomerulonephritis, that is, lesion is diffuse proliferation of the glomerulus cells with proliferative endocapillary proliferation, predominant endocapillary proliferation, and numerous neutrophil. Trichome stain may show a small subepithelial hump-shaped deposit, like buffalo hump, that is a mass on the back. So trichome stain shows a small subepithelial hump-shaped deposit, and crescent formation is uncommon, associated, and if it is there, it is associated with the poor prognosis. This crescent formation occurs in rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Hence, it is also called crescent glomerulonephritis. I will discuss later on. The early stage glomerular hypercellularity, late stage proliferation of intrinsic endothelial cells and mesangial cells. This is the low power microscopic view showing diffuse proliferation of the glomerulus, diffuse proliferative glomerulus seen in the post-infectious glomerulonephritis. The glomeruli are hypercellular. Here it is shown. It is hypercellular. This is hypercellular glomeruli. That opens capillary lumens cannot be seen. Open capillary lumen cannot be seen in the glomerulonephritis variety. This variety. Glomeruli may be hard to distinguish from the surrounding interstitium. Immunofluorescent microscope. As I have told you previously in the introductory chapter, that kidney diseases are all described under the three microscopic heading: compound microscopic, light microscope, then immunofluorescent microscopic change, and electron microscopic change. So this immunofluorescent microscopic change shows characteristic deposit of the immunoglobulin IgG and C3 distributed in the diffuse granular pattern within the mesangium and glomerular capillary wall. Other immune reactants IgM, IgA, fibrin, and other complement may also be detected. Electron microscopy. Deposits are referred to as hump. That is a small mass on the subendothelial immune complex deposits, and subsequent complement activation are responsible for the local influx of the inflammatory cells, leading to a proliferative glomerulonephritis, an active urine sediment, and variable decline in glomerular filtration rate. Subepithelial hump. This is deposits are referred to as hump in electron microscopy. The subepithelial humps are responsible for epithelial cell damage and proteinuria, similar to that seen in membranous glomerulonephritis. This hump is electron microscopic features. This is a hump, subepithelial hump. This is the subepithelial hump in electron microscopic view, and this is a normal glomerulus. Here it is proliferative glomerulus. Here it is proliferative, acute proliferative post-infectious glomerulonephritis. Here it is normal glomeruli, and here it is your immune complex, immunofluorescent demonstration, discrete coarsely granular deposit of complement C3 corresponding to your humps, that is complement 3 immune complex deposit. This is the immunofluorescent finding, electron microscopic finding, and my light microscopic finding. Light microscopic finding. Same. This is proliferation of the glomeruli. This is the C3 deposition, or this is subepithelial hump. Acute post-infectious, this is normal glomeruli. Here it is acute proliferative glomeruli. The endothelial cell, there is a proliferation and proliferated endothelial cells, and there is a hump like formation. Hump. This is the your hump. This is immune complex forming in light micro in the electron microscopy appears as a hump, subendothelial layer. Clinical feature: in the classic case, young child abruptly develops malaise, fever, nausea, oliguria, hematuria 1 to 2 weeks after recovery from a sore throat. That is post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. It is called follows streptococcal sore throat infections. Rheumatic fever also occurs after sore throat following after 14 to 21 days. Similarly, this glomerulonephritis post-streptococcal occurs following sore throat or cutaneous infections after 1 week to 2 weeks. Abrupt onset features are, clinical features are abrupt onset with puffiness of the face, oliguria, then smoky urine, reddish urine, hypertension, and edema are there. Laboratory findings: investigation, urine microscopy shows RBC cast. This RBC cast, if there is there in the children urine, it is diagnostic mostly, or about 80 to 90% suggests the clue that the patient is suffering from the acute proliferative post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. In the culture, throat swab, a beta hemolytic streptococci in case of post-streptococcal infections may be there, may not be there. But anti-streptolysin O titer, ASO titer is elevated. C3 level is reduced, urinary protein increased, urea and creatinine may be increased. Renal biopsy shows features of glomerulonephritis, as I have discussed in the light microscopy, immunofluorescent microscopy, and electron microscopy. Then now streptococcal acute glomerulonephritis, post-infectious glomerulonephritis, sporadically associated with RNA infections like bacterial, viral, and parasitic staphylococcal infections, viral hepatitis C, hepatitis B, the HIV infections, or parasitic infections like malaria. Then granular immunofluorescent deposits, subepithelial humps are present. In this non-streptococcal infection also. These post non-streptococcal infections, this subepithelial hump and immunofluorescent deposit are also present. There is same features. The prognosis: 95% of the children usually recover with conservative treatment, maintaining sodium and water balance. A minority, fewer than 1%, do not improve and become severely oliguric and develop RPGN. In the develops rapidly progressive form of RPGN, progress to rapidly progressive RPGN. Then RPGN, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, there is crescent-like deposition in the glomerulus, so it is called, also named by this term, crescentic glomerulonephritis. Rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis or crescentic glomerulonephritis, ominous morphological pattern, Majority of the glomeruli are surrounded by accumulation of the cells in Bowman's capsule, parietal epithelial cells. Then indicative of fulminant glomerular damage and always leaves no scarring. Does not denote a specific etiologic form of glomerulonephritis. Crescentic. Most patients with the substantial 80%, about 80% crescentic glomeruli or rapidly progress to renal failure. Fibrin in the Bowman's capsule is important for the formation of glomerular crescents, and it is treated with the anticoagulants. So fibrin is important in crescent formation, associated with the areas of segmental necrosis within the glomeruli. Types, rapidly RPGN, rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis or crescentic, as I have told you, are of three types: type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1, antiglomerular basement membrane disease, also called Goodpasture syndrome. It involves pulmonary involvement is also there in the Goodpasture syndrome. So type 1 is develops antiglomerular Goodpasture syndrome or idiopathic plasmapheresis to remove circulating antibody. Is helpful in this type of glomerulonephritis, that is crescentic. Etiology is unknown. Type 2, immune complex disease. Type 1 was antiglomerular basement membrane disease. Type 2 is immune complex disease, can be complication of any of the immune complex similarities like in SLE, IgA nephropathy, Henoch skull and purpura. All these show a granular pattern, characteristic immune complex, not helped by plasmapheresis. Type 3, POSI immune complex disease, that is lack of antiglomerular basement membrane antibody or immune complexes. Patients do have anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibodies in 90% cases. POSI immune, that is not immune complex, POSI means half, not immune complex, and that is to lesser extent, and lack of antiglomerular basement membrane. This antiglomerular is type 1 involvement, immune complex type 2. Here it is POSI immune, that is anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibodies is seen in 90% of the cases. Either C or P pattern. In some cases, it is a component of vasculitis, that is Wegener's granulomatosis. Clinically, there is hematuria with red cell cast, RBC cast in the urine. Transplant or chronic dialysis in most cases required, because it is a very common, that is 80% cause of the renal failure, renal failure. This is your glomerulus, this is the crescent deposit, this is the crescent deposit here. So this crescent deposit is characteristic, it is rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Crescentic deposit, here there are crescents, here there are crescents. So it is a characteristic of rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, this crescentic. In all the three varieties, etiologically it is different. Type 1 antiglomerular basement membrane, type 2 immune complex, and type 3 is POSI immune complex. But this crescent deposit is present in all the three cases. So it is called crescentic glomerulonephritis or rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis because it rapidly converted into renal failure, accounting for 80 to 90% cases of the renal failure. Crescentic glomerulonephritis trichome strain, this is the crescent. So this is called in the trichome strain, Goodpasture syndrome. Here it is a Goodpasture syndrome, that is anti-glomerular basement membrane antibodies. These three differentiating features, it has been taken from your Hasmohan or Ravi's textbook of pathology. Type 1 RPGN, type 2 RPGN, and type 3 RPGN. Type 1 antiglomerular basement membrane disease, type 2 immune complex disease, type 3 POSI immune complex disease. Clinical features are nephritic in all the cases, nephritic syndrome. Pathogenetic antiglomerular basement membrane immune complex and anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibody is there. Immunofluorescent linear immunoglobulins and C3, granular IgG and immunoglobulin and C3, sparse or absent immunoglobulin and complement. Here linear, here it is granular, type 2. Then serologic marker, complement 3, normal, low to normal, normal. Here may be in type 2, low. Then antiglomerular basement membrane antibody, as I have told you, as the disease denotes, it is positive. Negative, negative. ANCA, that is anti-neutrophilic cytoplasmic antibody present in this POSI immune complex. Here in both the cases negative. Underlying cause idiopathic, idiopathic, idiopathic. This occurs following in the Goodpasture syndrome, SLE, vasculitis, vigorous granulomatosis, and acroscalan purpura. Post-infectious, that is this type 2 variety, post-infectious, that is post-streptococcal following progresses to this rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. And POSI immune occurs in polyarthritis nodosa and vigorous granulomatosis, that is in cases of vasculitis. Then minimal change disease. This occurs in children and accounts for your nephrotic syndrome, massive albuminuria with edema, puffiness of the face, and hypoproteinemia, hypoalbuminemia, and lipiduria. So these are the characteristic feature of the minimal change disease. Sometimes in the theory, in the urine, a practical examination, you do the urine examination, the protein, urinary protein, it is massive in minimal change disease, So the massive proteinuria, minimal change disease occurs in children, and membranous glomerulonephritis accounts for 50 to 60% cases of nephrotic syndrome in adult. So this minimal change disease, also called lipoid nephrosis, because in cross-nickel present there is a lipid is birefringent, and epithelial cell disease also called. Major causes of nephrotic syndrome, major causes in children less than 15 years. Peak incidence by 2 to 6 years. In nephrotic, in the acute proliferative glomerulonephritis, the peak incidence is also by 6 to 7 years. Here peak incidence 2 to 6 years. Also in adults with nephrotic syndrome, this but very rare. Effacement of the food process is there. The food process is removed. So effacement of the food process, and glomeruli shows minimal changes. Hence it is called minimal change disease. The glomeruli microscopically shows minimum change, hence it is called minimal change disease also, or lipoid nephrosis, previously it was called. Minimal change disease, most patients are boys who usually present prior to 6 years of age, selective proteinuria, history of recent antigen exposure, idiopathic sometimes following respiratory infection or routine immunization also, minimal change disease. The T cell involvement suggests patient present with similar signs symptoms. Epithelial cell disease have altered T cell functions, loss of lipoprotein through the glomeruli, accumulates lipid in the proximal tubule, foamy cytoplasm together with the lipids in the urine, lipoid nephrosis. There is foamy cytoplasm of the in the tubules due to deposition of the lipids in the tubules. Hence, previously it was also called lipoid nephrosis, that is involvement of the kidney due to tubules. Remission within 8 weeks with the use of corticosteroids. Very dramatic, it goes up. And dramatic response is the hallmark of the disease following corticosteroid therapy. Minimal change disease do not relapse, do not tend to progress to chronic renal failure. Development of azotemia suggests incorrect diagnosis of minimal change disease. In absence of complication, outcome of the patients with the epithelial cell disease is same as general population. That is, survival is prognosis is very good. This minimal change disease, this is minimal change, loss of food process. This food process, here these are the food process, serrated food process are there. This serrated food process are there, and in the epithelial surface. Here there is loss of effacement or loss of the food process with minimum changes in the glomeruli. No proliferation, no neutrophilic or infiltration. So it is called minimal change disease. Since the lipids are deposited in the cytoplasm as vacuoles in the tubules, and it is called lipoid nephrosis also. Minimal change disease, this is a loss of food process, effacement of this food process in the electron microscopy. This normal epithelial cells food process is there, here there is effacement of the food process. So it becomes leaky to albumin. So this is about your three diseases of the kidney, important disease I have discussed: glomerulonephritis, acute proliferative post-streptococcal or non-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, acute proliferative glomerulonephritis, then rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, and minimal change disease occurring in the children and accounts for 90% of the cases in children for the nephrotic syndrome. Thank you. In the next class, I will discuss about membranous glomerulonephritis, membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis, chronic glomerulonephritis, etc. Thank you.